All right, so good afternoon, y'all. I am Lady Vo. I am the captain of Airship Iron Opal. Welcome to Steampunk Family Style. So this is kind of a combination of some different things that we've done in the past and sharing some ideas that other people have brought up as they've come with us. Has everyone here heard of Airship Iron Opal before? Raise your hand if you've heard of us. So some of you have, some of you haven't. Airship Iron Opal, we are an all ages social steampunk group. My youngest member is hiding next to his daddy right now. He started coming to events with us at 2. So we have from 2 years old to 70 plus years old, who is this lovely lady over here, Tony. Tony. Tony is in her 70s, so we literally have all kinds of different ages and different abilities. The whole point of what we do with Steampunk is we bring everyone together and have a lot of fun with it. The first question I love asking people is, what is Steampunk? Because I found everybody has a slightly different definition and slightly different answer for what Steampunk is. The other thing I found is I've gotten so good at giving the elevator speech for Steampunk that when somebody wanted me to just explain Steampunk for 20 minutes, it threw me sideways a little bit. You get so used to giving the shortened version. But for me, Steampunk is, we take the style and elegance of the Victorian era and their clothing style and the innovation aspects that was happening in science and technology, and we bring those things forward as if we never changed from steam powered to electricity. One of the things we have a lot of fun with is there's a lot of really cool things that happen in the Victorian age, but there was also a lot of really crummy things that happened in the Victorian age. So we get to forget those and leave those behind, and we also get to learn from them as well. One of the things that Airship Iron Opal does is we talk about with steam. Without steam, there is no steampunk. A lot of schools you hear talking about STEM and STEAM education, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And we use all of those things in our creations of doing stuff. Eddie has helped make some of his own things. I have Tinkers here, and Evie, and Nameless, and we have Tadpole and Frog over here on the side. So everybody comes in and they say, hey, I've got this idea for something I want to do, and we want to bring in. Ruka, what would you add to the definition of what is steampunk?
I would add that there's an emphasis on more industrialized materials and the metals that are not as popular in modern urban construction, such as brass, metal, copper, stuff that you more traditionally find in a steam engine. Another thing is, it's not just, it mostly seems to take place in the Victorian age, but it can be applied to almost any time period from the Victorian, alternative Victorian age, all the way to
when Art Nouveau kicks in about 1920.
Yeah, right before Captain America.
Yeah, sorry, Art Deco. Thank you. But when you start getting into the Art Deco World War I era, then you cross the line into what's called as diesel punk. So, which is also really fun and really cool, but it's a little bit slightly different aesthetic. So, excellent point. All right. By the way, Ruka is one of my crew. These little lovely pins you see, these are all crew of Airship Iron Opal. Our crew is almost to 30 people now, and then we have. I think we've got over 200 on the Facebook page now, and everyone who joins the Facebook page, we call everyone passengers. So anybody who wants to be a passenger is welcome to be a passenger, and we share like different creative things that we're working, different ideas. So for example, I'm going to pick on Tadpole and Frog a little bit. The Tadpole's taxi, you can actually see from start to finish as we were working, as they were working on it, and different ideas and projects. So we start off showing, hey, this is how these raw projects start, and kind of show progress of how they go. And then we do that. Chaos has a pauldron he's wearing today. We do the same thing with it. We've got the same thing with lots of different props. Actually, have some really cool pictures of Millie's hat as well as she was working on it. So,
Victorian
yeah, your hat.
I am all about
Victorian recipes.
Yes. This is Cookie. He's our ship's cook. I can't call him chef. He throws things at me if I do that. All right. And Millie, what would you add for about steampunk?
I think a lot of it is remembering that in the Victorian era, they did not limit themselves to functionality alone, but they added embellishments to make it more beautiful. And I think that is a lot of it too, is, you know, harkening back to the frillies and gewgaws that once you get into the 40s, a lot of people dismissed as just plain silly and they got rid of. But you're keeping the spirit alive.
If you ever get a chance, look up the London pump houses on YouTube. They're beautifully ornate, functional pieces that fit right in this aesthetic.
And then one of the things that we've had a lot of fun with Steampunk is Airship Iron Opal. This is our 3rd year as a ship. Our first Steampunk event as a ship versus being a shuttle for another ship was the first Fort Collins Comic Con. So we're really excited about that. It started out as myself, Chaos, Tinkers, and Nameless. We came here from Mississippi as part of a sister ship, and we came here where we're looking to join with other steampunk groups. And there wasn't one, so that's how I became a captain. And that was a lot of the fun of it, though, is it doesn't have to fit in this tiny little box of this is what steampunk is. This is what your characters are allowed to be. One of the things I love to point out is a lot of people think steampunk and they think for ladies you have to wear a corset. And that's not the case at all. I'll be honest, I have a messed up back. I wear a corset because it's the prettiest back brace you will ever wear. But, you know, but not all of us wear corsets. For example, Duchess in the front row has a lovely dress on today, but she's not doing a corset. You know, and so it's really up to you for what you want to wear. You know, Brittany is behind her. I'm going to pick on her, and she didn't know it. But she also has a lovely outfit today with no corset. You know, and it's really wide open to what your interpretation is and what your character is. One of the things is, for example, I'm a steampunk Ursula. You know, I was like, hey, this is a fun idea. I want to try this. And so you can go and do a steampunk spin on a character that already exists, such as our lovely steampunk Fifth Elements. Or you can create your own character. And it's really up to you. So Millie, I want to give you a chance a little bit to talk about what you made your outfit out of.
Okay. So the hat, I'm sure most of you could tell, is mostly duct tape. Just kind of fun. The goggles are welding goggles from Harbor Freight. And the actual clothes, I used old sheets. They're the type of fabrics I wanted. So they were cheap. I didn't feel bad if I messed up. So kind of nice.
So it's really up to you what materials you want to take and bring in. Yes.
This goofy thing is a squirt gun glued with a acrylic wine goblet from the Dollar Tree and an empty pill bottle.
And this is also a great example of, you can see the different details that were done in here, is even, you know, your guns and that kind of thing have a fancier spin on it. And that's one of the pieces that's fun is we're not reenactors. That's one of the things that's a lot of fun is when you get into a lot of reenactment, it's historical, there's facts to back it up, there's a certain set of criteria you have to meet. With steampunk, not so much. So if you come in and they go, well, what is that? Oh, this is my Snarf Black. And it gets to be whatever creative story you want to put with it and bring in your ideas, because there isn't a right or wrong piece as well. One of the other things that we wanted to bring up talking about is obviously we cosplay and con with small ones and people with different abilities. And so that's one of the things that we've had to become aware of the hard way is thinking about, okay, not only is your run-of-the-mill able-bodied adult able to have fun and have a good time, but how can we all work together and have a good time and still be somewhat sane at the end? I say somewhat sane because I can't say I was sane completely before we started this. But one of the things we talk about is sharp objects and pointy objects. So thinking about not just for yourself or the small ones who are with you, but other people around you. If you've got a really sharp, pointy costume, it's a really good idea to have what's commonly referred to as a handler. Somebody to kind of help you see where you're going and what's going on, but also to keep the little kid who's looking at something to not run into you and be injured themselves. I use Chaos's pauldron as an example. As you see, I am much shorter than Chaos. The point on his pauldron, I talked him into making less pointy because that point on his pauldron lines up with my eyeball. So that was one of the pieces we had to bring into consideration of, let's not blind the people standing next to you.
Thank you, by the way. We're running into it a few times.
And that's just leather, and it's still pointy and doesn't feel great. So also thinking about necklaces and collars. When you're cosplaying with kids, you see a lot of fun pocket watches and chains. Kiddos like to grab these and pull on these for the adults who are taking care of them. So take care of yourself so you're not getting grabbed and pulled and injured as a result of that. Also thinking about that for your kiddos. One of the coolest things I've seen happening for kids pieces is wearing mag backs, the magnetized clasp for necklaces. Those work really well for kiddos, so if they get stuck or something, it doesn't injure them to take it off and it doesn't break it and it's not ruined. Yes, speaking of soft things. It's all good. One of the things for soft things is I don't know how well you guys can see this. This is, we call our taxi driver, he is Tadpole. This is Tadpole's bracer. This is also made out of leather, but as you can see, it's a much softer leather than what Chaos's pauldron is made of. So that's one of the things we took into consideration is something that would be soft and would work well for him. It has grommets and lacing, so it can be laced on. It's easy to get on. Obviously, Tadpole's hand is much smaller than mine. But it's easy on and easy off, so as he needs to come in and out of it, like washing hands and things like that, it's really easy to change. One of the things that was also really cool is the character on this bracer was drawn on here with an ink pen. So you don't always have to have really expensive tools to do everything and to get it all going. Can they see? So one of the things thinking about with kiddos and also again as adults we touch base on is making sure you can see. Making sure you can see out of what you're doing, whether it's your goggles, your hat, whatever you've got going. Make sure you can see what's going on, and make sure the little ones can see what's going on as well. You must be able to eat and drink in what you're wearing.
You also might have to go potty.
Say it again.
You might have to be able to go potty.
How many adult cosplayers have forgotten this rule? Right? So that's one of the things to keep in mind. A couple of things that I like to point out, and I'm going to show a little bit on this. So obviously this is really fun, and it's a little bit of a challenge to get around in. But if I need to take a break, it's all one piece. So it's easy to get on, it's easy to get off. Tinkers is getting her wings together to show you. Similar idea. Now, she actually helped make her wings and design the harness she's wearing. And it's an easy on, easy off kind of thing. The other thing that we found with a lot of our cosplaying costumes and our steampunk costumes is your costume changes and evolves as you wear it. So for example, Tinker's harness, when she first made it, was just plain leather, but she found it really irritated her shoulders and hurt. And so we found some sheepskin material that she then sewed onto her harness. And that's one of the things that's been a lot of fun is we've been able to teach hole punching for leathers, sewing for leather, distressing and dyeing for leather, all these different skills. This has been a good way to work on doing that. One of the other things that's been an interesting lesson for us to learn with this doing steampunk is when your kiddo is working on their costume, it's not your costume, it's their costume. And so if you know, as parents, a lot of times we're like, if we get this one other thing, it'd be really good, or it'd be so much cooler if we did this. But to take ourselves back from that and let them have that ownership of their costume and them to be able to kind of tweak it and decorate it and do it as they want to.
You drop one of your lives.
Yeah. And that's been an interesting lesson for us as parents, is to be able to do that. Okay, we're going to teach them the skills, but we've got to let them take their ownership of it and let it be what they want it to be. We can talk ideas with them, but I've had times where I've come up with some really cool ideas, and I'm like, this would be a really great idea for your costume. No, Mama, I don't like that. And so I'm like, oh, and then I have to move on. But that's also the fun piece as well. And the other thing, as y'all can see with Tinker's costume, is kids drop stuff. It gets banged around, it gets knocked around. I'm also smart enough to know as adults we do that too. So thinking about that with your different props and as you're building them and creating them, is if you're going to have something that's really fragile, be considerate about how you're carrying it and where you're going to be at. If you've got something really fragile that is going to look awesome for a cosplay catwalk or a costume contest, but if somebody bumps into it, it's going to mess it up, it's probably not your best bet to wear that on the vendor floor. You know, so thinking about those kinds of pieces and parts. And Tadpole and Frog are being awesome and giving us an example. Y'all are good. We're walking out. Yeah, so Tadpole doesn't like to sit very well, so he sits. When he's done sitting, he lets Mom know. So they take their break and they go back to walking because that's what Tadpole needs to do to take care of himself. That's also a hard lesson for some of us to learn, not just with kids, but also when we're in groups of friends. Some of our friends have different medical needs. How many of us have a friend or family member that if they don't eat on a regular basis, their blood sugar will drop? And they start feeling really ill and really yucky? How many of us have friends who come visit from lower elevation that if they don't drink enough water, they feel really yucky?
It's not.
Speaking of which, we need to use the water drop now.
And so those are other things that have been interesting. Is a lot of stuff we started out doing this panel and designing it, thinking about kiddos. And then the more we thought about it, we're like, this is also just consideration with groups and coming together and working on stuff. Thank you, Tinkers. And being flexible with stuff. The other tip I wanted to share is you see Tinker's costume has lots of tulle, as does my costume. The best thing I found for when you've got something with lots of tulle to be able to still use the facilities is have some type of underskirt. For example, Tinker's has that solid gray material so that when you need to go, you can reach down, pick up the underskirt, and everything comes up at once. Is much more convenient, is absolutely worth it. Whether you're doing steampunk or even if you're doing some of the 50s kind of style poodle skirts with all your layers of crinoline under it, it makes a big difference being able to go. Okay. Safety for others, I think we hit. Kids lose things. Adults lose things.
Where's my pipe?
Or the I just had it, what did I do with it now? Where did it go? You know, and so also having some flexibility with yourself we found was really vital for helping stay sane with doing cons as groups, is realizing that sometimes stuff gets forgotten. And dang, it's disappointing, but it doesn't have to be the end all of your experience. Dang, this didn't work out like I wanted to, but we can still go and have a good time. You know, and so being flexible with yourself goes a long way. Thrifting versus new. I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to let Millie talk.
Thrift stores are your friend. I mean, and you can find dresses, things to cut up, turn into other things, but you don't even have to stop there. Like I said, these are sheets. Old curtains, tablecloths, you can make into other things. You can even find things that can be used as they are. One of my friends picked this up for me at a thrift shop, I believe. And you end up finding some pretty fun things. Oh yeah, most of his outfits from a thrift shop too. Pants, the jacket. I believe the apron is from Harbor Freight.
Yeah. Harbor Freight, a convention, believe it or not. Thrift shop. Yeah.
You had it.
See.
You had it. Yeah. And so all that comes in, and then looking at things and being like, hey, this can be something else. So Millie's gun is an excellent example of that. Like the end of her gun was a wine goblet from the dollar store. Tinker's dress that she's wearing started out life as a women's size 4 prom dress. I can't sew for diddly squat, but I knew what I wanted to do, and so I took apart the bottom, created her skirt. I had a friend who can sew, because it's all nice to have friends who have talents different than yours. And they sewed what I call a tunnel seam. I don't know if there's a better term, but it's like a curved pocket rod around the top. It looks like it's like they just take the end of the fabric, it's folded over, and then we ran a ribbon through it so it fits various size waists. Because the idea was we knew this was
casing.
What is it?
Casing.
Casing. Thank you. I love it when people
First
teach
you
me
do the
stuff.
technical term, and I'm like, place where you put elastic.
And we don't even use elastic. We use ribbon. And we run a ribbon and then we tie a knot through it. That one size 4 women's dress gave us the top. We sewed little loops on the back so it looks like a corset, because I'm a big believer in, I think you need to be over 16 before you go stillbone. Just because you need, unless you have like a medical, your back's already messed up that young, which I hope that's not the case for people, because that's not fun. Just because with corseting, a lot of people want a tight lace. And if you read the Victorian research, people who corseted and tight laced every day, there's a medical reason we stopped doing that. It's not good for your body to do that every day. It's good for occasionally.
I actually heard that there were chairs made during that time period where women who were wearing corsets would have someplace to sit when they pass out.
Yes, that's where there was a lot of the fainting couches and that kind of thing, because people would tight lace so tightly they couldn't take a deep breath. And I will tight lace, but even tight lace, I'm able to take a deep breath because I'm a big fan of breathing. I like it. It's a good thing. And for Tinker, she liked the style of that, so we gave her the look of it without it actually being tight, because most little kids don't want something tight and constricting. They want to be able to bend. They want to be able to move. Oh, there's something cool on the floor. You know, they want to be able to do all of those things.
What do I have?
And so that comes into place. Now, what was also cool, out of that same size 4 dress, I also got a petticoat that fits me. I am not a size 4. You know, and that was just the thing that was interesting, is when we got into it, there was so much fabric and material, so taking it apart and seeing what else is there. Gentlemen in the group, please feel free to chime in on this. In my experience, when it comes to thrifting, y'all have a little bit harder time with stuff.
Don't be afraid to look in the ladies section.
Yes, definitely.
Need to say ladies' pants. Because they're cool looking.
Yes.
Stuff like
I have no clue what you're talking about.
His pants.
No, I have no clue.
Ruka is feigning innocence. You know, and that's one of the other things, you know, sometimes you have to look in the opposite genders section of the store. Sometimes you end up looking where the sheets are.
I just want to point out that crossplay is an acceptable thing in steampunk too.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So, if you like dresses,
You are perfectly well. Again, it comes back to you get to wear whatever you want to. It's your
it
costume.
doesn't matter which gender you are. If you like blue, wear it.
Yes. And let's see here. And again, you can spend as much or as little as you want. So for some of our things, not so much. My tentacles, these really cool fun things. Hold my end. Does anybody have any idea what this actually is? It's a rain guard. It's like a gutter thing, and then it just twists. So I can do whatever I want to them and make different shapes out of them and have lots of fun. So yeah, it was a rain tube, and they're actually, that was just half of one because I cut these in half. They're incredibly long. I dry brush painted them and then cut them. I thought I was going to have to use a hacksaw. I did that on the first one, found out it was overkill. So an X-Acto knife took care of it. And that's the other thing, is stuff that I think is going to be a lot more industrial. An X-Acto knife goes a long way. And then, so we have people like me who can't sew, and then I'm gonna make her blush, and I'm gonna show off our lovely lady Abigail. The blue jacket that she is wearing and her bustle were both made by her and started out as just material as well. So again, bringing in your different ideas and suggestions, you can do something that's more traditional style or not a traditional style. Also, you can buy items pre-made. Chaos's vest and shirt came from a website called Historical Emporium, which is, it's kind of a neat website. They've got a lot of cool ideas and stuff. Even if you don't buy from them, because I'll be honest, they're not cheap. They're a great place to go and get ideas from.
They do use the reason that I got into that site to begin with is they use actual turn of the century patterns. So they've collected a whole series of vest patterns and pants patterns and stuff that are actually Victorian patterns. And so I went, after a year and a half of wearing turn of the century patterns, I wanted to try what they call 6-button pants that you get to wear suspenders with all the time, and I found they're very comfortable, so I have a tendency to buy them now. Probably more than I should, but
And again, it's finding what works for you. One of the have you guys ever heard of steam powered giraffe? Yes. So steam powered giraffe. One of the singers was with steam powered giraffe talked about when he started off, he wore the high waisted 6-button pants.
The spine.
No.
John.
Rabbit.
Rabbit.
Before Rabbit became Bunny. Rabbit
Yes.
wore the 6-button pants, and Rabbit is the singer for the band. And Rabbit talked about that didn't last very long because it was hard for him to breathe and hold and be able to continue singing as he was used to, because the pants come up to your chest in 6-button pants. So yes, men had clothes that went as well.
I am so envious of you. Guess who's going back to, in less than a month, going to one of your concerts?
Oh,
Jelly.
yes. Now let's all turn green with envy.
It's okay, I'll take it all in. I'll think
All
about
right.
you all later.
So a few of the other things that we talked about, and I'm gonna hush again and let you talk, is what are some of the things we figured out when we had the mini minions to stay sane?
Trade off as much as you can, because one person cannot be in charge of watching the kid and enjoy the con. So if you have 2 people with you, one person can watch the kid, another person can go and look at the vendor floor without the child. But even if you're right next to each other, if one person is focusing on the kid and the other person is able to focus on other things, it makes things easier. And by the way, it's my turn with Eddie next. I love you too.
And we do that with not just little ones. We also do that. Sometimes we'll take the kiddos as a group. One of the things that I really like about Fort Collins Comic Con is they have this whole great kids area where kids can go and playground and check out stuff. Is sometimes we'll take turns. Hang on, we'll take turns, and one person will say, "Okay, I'm going to take all the kids." We call that person the sacrifice. That's the sacrificial human for the day. And that they'll go and they'll take the kids for a little while, and they may not take them for the whole day, but they'll go take them for a little while, and other people can go and do stuff and come back together. And we found that trading off with that, one, meant that the kids had time to run around and do stuff together and have fun with it, and 2, it meant that as adults we also had time to speak to other adults, because I know parents sometimes forget what that's like. One of the pieces that you brought up that I didn't think about when I created this is that this works well for giving people something to hang on to when you're in a crowded section. I didn't even think about this until Tinker's started grabbing his tentacle and walked off with it. But when you've got big groups of people together.
And it's not just little kids. I mean, I was with a bunch of teenagers in an anime convention, and I had a tail. So I had a lot of people holding on to my tail to make it.
A couple of the other things that we've run into when you have groups of people together and keeping up is some of the events and venues you go to may not have cell service hardly at all, depending on when the spaces are that you go into. So, and I know a lot of us have gotten used to, I'll call you when I get done with this, so we don't pre-plan. But thinking about, you still need to pre-plan. Okay, I'm going to a panel at 1:15. I'll be out at 2 o'clock. I'll meet you back at this location. So a lot of us, that's something a lot of us used to do, but we got out of the habit of because of cell phones. It's still a good practice with cons because of the lack of signal and service. I service and signal than cell phones do.
Oh, I just want to point out something that this con's pretty good at. Accessibility. Not all parts of all conventions are accessible.
Yes.
That needs to be part of the planning stage too.
Yeah, so looking at, can you get in and out of where you're looking at going to? That's a very good point.
Like the Railroad Museum is amazing, but I have to strap myself into my metal braces to go up.
Yeah. to go and check out different parts of it. That's an excellent point.
Yeah, wheelchair. Maybe I'll have it.
Bag of holding.
Yes.
Bags of holding are very important.
The feed bags of holding are awesome.
Yes. Ruka has a bag of holding attached to the bottom of the chair. I believe that bag started out as a camera case.
Yep, still is part of the time.
Yes. So having different bags that fit in with your costume, but somewhere, like for me, I found an old fanny pack for $1. I was excited. But having somewhere not only just to put like your wallet and stuff like that, but carry water on you. I'm real bad. I use myself as an example because I mess up a lot, and I'm a big believer in if I'm going to point out somebody's flaws, it might as well be my own. I'm not the best at drinking water, especially at an event. So that was one of the things I've had to work on. Is so like in your bag of holding, have water, have like a water bottle you can refill, or some kind of liquid.
And a snack.
And a snack of some type.
Granola bars are awesome.
Yeah, granola bars are your friend. Same kind of thing like how we mentioned for our friends with blood sugar and visiting from lower altitude, those things. Remember those things for yourself, because that's one of the things I've seen happen is every group has one person who's like the person who takes care of the group. And sometimes the person who takes care of the group forgets to take care of themselves. And so kind of remembering, hey, have you had water today? Hey, have you eaten today? Okay, we need to, and looking out for each other with those little things. Also, so I have this bag. Some of the things I've carried.
Yeah, about 15.
Okay. Some of the other things that I've used is like I have actually an old motorcycle bag that was meant to be tied to the back of a motorcycle that I put on a belt and carry around and put stuff in, because when you're getting stuff for yourself, you buy things. You'd like to have somewhere to put them. When you're going places with children, they not only do they buy things, but children have this tendency to get stuff for free. Sometimes it boggles my mind, the things that my children walk up to and say, they gave me this. And so you need to have somewhere to put those things. One of the other things that's fun I did is I ended up with an old set of saddlebags that were my uncle's that ended up in some stuff that had passed on to me. And those are actually very comfortable. I'll throw them over my shoulder and have stuff on one side and stuff in the other, so we have what we need. And bringing those around. When you have little ones with you and they have their costuming piece, you want to make sure it's something that they can carry. Because a lot of us, I was trying to think. I think Millie or Olaf, y'all are the ones who sent it to me. There was a picture of like a dad and like 5 kids, all dressed up to the nines with these great costumes, and then the next panel said 4 hours later, and dad's got like 5 different half costumes that he's carrying around. The kids have decided they don't want to wear anymore. I'm a big proponent in if you're going to wear it, we need to find a way to make it comfortable, because you're going to be responsible for your stuff. This is also one of the ways we teach responsibility to our little ones. If you don't keep up with your stuff, whose fault is it, Nameless?
Yours.
It's my fault.
No, I mean it's the person who... Stop being stubborn.
Good luck with that one. So that's also the responsibility piece, is bringing that in and expecting the kiddos to be responsible for themselves. Choosing their own character. We've talked about that a little bit. Is you can create your own character. You can create hybrids of different characters you enjoy. One of the other things that I wanted to give people a chance to do with looking at is, how we talked about you don't always have to spend a ton of money on something. Sometimes you can do things fairly cheaply. Is if people would like the opportunity, we have the chance for you to make your own set of goggles today. Okay? And our goggles, I've got several different colors. Our goggles started out life as either paper towel rolls or toilet paper rolls. We put them up and I think we use sticks and different like shovel handles, much to the chagrin of somebody. And we stacked them up and we spray painted them. Then we cut them apart, and then I'm gonna turn it sideways, and then we punched holes in either side. So that's how we got our circles for our goggles. And so if people would like to come and select, you need to select 2 rings and then tell us which color yarn you want. We'll take you through how to make a pair of goggles really quickly.
Mono goggles are also a thing.
Yes, if someone doesn't want a pair of goggles together, if you want just one, we can teach you how to make those too. So I'm going to ask if anyone from this first row would like to come up. Just tell us what color you would like. Okay, you want 2 of the same one? Okay.
Ready.
Yes. I'll get it, son. Actually, Millie's going to do it. Okay, so they need one long string and one short string. Do you guys want to make pair of goggles?
Actually, I might go up there. I might go up there.
Yes, it's the Outlander handle. A couple of other things I want to mention while people are coming up to make goggles. Some of our passengers also have panels this weekend. Haley's mom Jill is doing an Outlander panel tomorrow. One of our passengers, Elspeth, is doing a panel talking about Victorian characters in history and using that information to create your own character. Airship Iron Opal has a panel tomorrow that's an intro to steampunk materials.
I thought that was also today.
Where we're going to be bringing in other materials that we've made, everything from paper and leather all the way up to fiberglass, and talking about working with those. And this evening at 6 p.m. I have a panel that I will be doing called Cosplay Through DMT Goggles, which is where I talk about how and why cosplay is good for mental health, and it is backed with psychology theory. Okay. All right, so grab yours. Anybody else want to make a pair of goggles? Yes. Grab two. Nameless. I will talk you through it. We'll give everyone their pieces.
Bonet, how much longer? Is the making of the goggles the last of it? Is the making of the goggles the last of it?
Yeah. So we want to stop recording.